check, 1 2, 1 2, mic check. I think we're there.
Welcome to my Iceland adventure.
Welcome to Iceland, and it is icy, ice everywhere. So I have arrived this morning on a plane, went into Reykjavik, picked up a campervan, and then we drove up to Kirkjufell. It took us a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours with a stop for a coffee, but this place is just incredible. Look at the light right now. So I'm gonna have to grab my camera, 2 seconds. So I've come down from the honeypot location, which is at the top, which is where everyone is taking photos, and I've come down to the bottom so I could do a little bit of vlogging in peace. Very popular location, 1,000 Icelandic krona to park here, but it's amazing. The waterfalls are all sort of waterfally and frozen, there's snow everywhere. The sun's just basting the side of this. It's sunset at the moment, by the way, because I've been traveling all day. And can I swing you around and show you? Let's try and do that. Yeah, the waterfalls are up there. Oh, they just look great. So, yeah, I've messed up my whole shot now, and I don't even care. But this is day one, and it's snowy. It's amazing. I've got the honeypot shot. I'd like to get the reflection over there, but it's very windy today, and I don't think I can get round there in this snow. It looks incredibly dangerous. I don't know what is snow and what is ice and what is lake. So I might just stick within the ropes for now and take some shots in the last of the day's light.
From this angle, Kirkjufell is symmetrical and it's perfect for central compositions. This one's got textures in the foreground, this next one has leading lines, and now I've put it into a sort of different composition with the waterfalls and everything in between. Just the sky is beautiful as well. I absolutely love it. But from the same location, I turned around and there's a village I can't remember the name of. The sky was just pink and blue and purple and magenta. And this is just a close-up view of the mountains. It was such an unbelievable evening. And as I was walking back to the car, just as it hit blue hour, this lovely simple central composition again.
So I realised yesterday it was a bit of a manic start to the vlog. We had flown out in the morning and drove all the way up to Kirkjufell, got there just before sunset, took a few photos, tried to cook some dinner, trying to organise ourselves in this little van. Didn't really go very well. But last night we did stay for the Aurora, and fucking hell, it wasn't a full storm, but it was the greenest that I've ever seen it. It was absolutely incredible. And I've got some time lapses, a couple of time lapses, and quite a few photos. I am just on the laptop now, trying to back them up. Some lovely Aurora photos, fingers crossed.
I shot these on S&Q mode rather than taking a series of photos, and I wish that I hadn't. It was so dark, and for these I was actually using an f4 lens, which really isn't good for night photography. It's because I was using my wide prime to take photos with. However, the photos came out a lot better. Look at this one. A nice swoop of the river in front and the Aurora around the top, and then just a very simple central composition with Kirkjufell with the Aurora above it. So this is SELVALLAVATN, and I didn't actually do much vlogging at all here, so you're just going to have to put up with B-roll of me looking like I'm posing for the cover of GQ magazine. It was very windy over this mountain pass, and I got some nice photos, a couple of which I'm about to show you. But it was a lovely day, just a little parking spot on the side of the road as you go over the mountain pass, and lucky it was open when we were there. So I just got a nice little S-bend of the river running through the snow, which is leading down to a waterfall into the valley below, and more S-bends of the snow blowing over the road. Next up is BUDAKIRKJA on Snaefellsnes. So we were carrying down the coast on the peninsula and we went to this beautiful church. Look at this image. It was a bit of a tourist hotspot, a few people around, but managed to get a few moments when they weren't there. This looks amazing printed on my wall. We went from SELVALLAVATN over to BUDAKIRKJA and down to ARNARSTAPI, where we had the most amazing fish stew from a little restaurant called Stappin. We had a little wander around the coast in the afternoon sun. However, it was windy and that wind was cold. I found this lovely symmetrical mountain and lined that up with a house in the midground, and I also shot these patterns of ice melting in a large pond that surrounded that first house. Finally, a hazy shot of the sea stacks that lined the coast. It was probably more of a sunrise location, but unfortunately our itinerary didn't line up for that. As it was getting to late afternoon, we decided to take the long drive down to THINGVELLIR National Park, where we would park up for the night. But I got my long lens on as Kaz was driving, and out of the window I got some cracking shots, like this church in the afternoon sun, these birds with the mountains in the background, and we did stop at one point so I could take some photos of these mountain peaks on Snaefellsnes with that beautiful late afternoon glow. After a long drive from the night before, we decided to have a bit of a lie-in in the van before heading out to explore THINGVELLIR National Park. And this is actually a continental rift valley. It's the divide between the North American and Eurasian continental plates. So I'd stuck the drone up and I got this photo. You can see us in the middle there. You can see how big this rift actually is, and it runs for miles. Also, the lake in the national park, THINGVELLAVATN, there's a lovely church just on the west side.
So I've come a bit out of the way. I am in THINGVELLIR National Park today, and we've come to Skogafoss waterfall. You have to pay 1,000 kroner to park here, but it looks pretty awesome. It is Easter weekend and it is very busy, so trying to get a shot here during the middle of the day is very difficult. But it looks like it would be a nice place for a sunset location. The sun's at this time of year anyway, as the sun's going to set just behind the valley down there and light it up. The light's actually quite nice now, and I've managed to get some really nice shots with some ice in the foreground, and I've done some sort of zoomed in shots as well with the long lens. So we're going to explore a bit of this national park and maybe head somewhere later, but this is a really nice location and really easy to access as well. So where I was stood taking the photo with the ice in front is a bit down this area here, and just underneath the walkway there was some ice that has been pushed up against the rocks underneath. So I've got the wide angle lens down there and pointed it upwards, and at which point I used that as my foreground, and then I've got some nice leading lines going up these on the left here, and obviously the big waterfall at the top. On the long lens, I was just trying to get some of the water coming down the bottom here, and maybe some of these icicles, which are quite nice, and then obviously up here as well, I was having a little play. But you can just see how busy it is. Constantly there's people coming to get their Instagram shot, which is fair enough, that's what I'm here for. But yeah, if it was a bit quieter, it would have been a little bit easier to shoot.
This This first shot I'm going to show you is the one I took by hanging my camera underneath the wooden platform with the ice in the foreground. Came out really nice. I really like the texture that I've got in the waterfall and the river coming down. But then I did some zoomy in shots just to try and get a little bit of abstract, some movement in the water. But the light hitting that spray was amazing. And the light just refracting off that light, refracting, whatever it's doing. It's great. After Skogafoss in THINGVELLIR in the morning, we decided the afternoon to drive down to Seljalandsfoss, however you pronounce it.
So this is Seljalandsfoss. You see a big waterfall in the background, but it looks like, because it's a bit icy up there, and there's a lot of water coming down still, that you can't get behind it, which is a bit of a shame. This is a sunset location, and the sun's just in front of me there, because this is a west-facing cliff. So when the sun sets in the west down there at this time of year, shines some nice light. And I'm not quite sure what time of year it is actually quite nice to get behind there and get the sun behind the waterfall. I don't think I'll find out today, unfortunately, because you see there's hundreds of people here as well. It is a Saturday on bank holiday weekend, so. But I'm going to go up there and see what I can get, see which places are accessible, and just try and get some nice shots.
We were trying to find GLJUFRABUI waterfall first, but we ended up in this little dummy cave. We thought we'd found it, but turns out we hadn't. However, when we did, we found the river coming out, which is a telltale sign that there's a waterfall close by, and headed inside.
Oh shit. Pretty wet. That's incredible.
Okay, so we walked up from Seljalandsfoss, and now we're at GLJUFRABUI. My pronunciation is horrific, so sorry about that. But the gorge, where you can walk inside, and huge waterfalls coming down. There's a rock which I got Kaz to stand on, and actually I stood on for somebody else while I was in there. But the spray is incredible. Can you grab my camera a second? Because it is soaking, and you need to bring one of these if you're going to go in there. This is a camera condom, so it protects most of the camera and the lens comes out the front, and trying to keep the front of the lens dry is absolutely impossible. Thank you, my assistant Kaz. And yeah, I am completely soaked. I was in there for about 5 minutes, but one incredible sight. There's a few people taking shots through the gorge here, so I might just try that before heading back down to Seljalandsfoss for sunset, and hopefully it's a little bit quieter and some of them coaches like that all.
This first shot from the inside is very wide angle, 16mm, and the dynamic range was very difficult. Hence I really had to lift the shadows on this shot. But the second one, this is from the outside, and I love just that big crack in the middle, and you can just about see through to the waterfall.
We come back down to Seljalandsfoss. Maybe I'm saying it correctly now, I have no idea. And a lot of the buses have gone. We've got about an hour until sunset, and I'm going to see if I can take some more shots here. The viewpoints, one of them is sort of up the left-hand side, and that's closed off. The other one I kind of really wanted was to go behind the waterfall, but because of all of the ice and risk of icicles falling down, I can't do that. It's blocked off as well. So if I stand here, this time of year I've got to stand inside the ropes that I've got, and you can see all of the ice on the right hand side where the steps are, so that's completely covered in ice, that would be an absolute hazard. So nobody's going up there at the moment. This is kind of a summer sunset, I think, or spring at least, not the end of winter. So yeah, all I can work with is maybe the river here as a leading line, some of the ice on the right hand side to try and get a foreground, and that's about it. I'm very restricted. However, we shall use the light that we have, take some photos, and then go and have some dinner. All right, Kaz.
Check out this cinematic shot of the camper we hired from Cozy Campers. Look closely and you'll see Kaz making some coffee inside. As I've just mentioned, the vantage points were a bit restrictive. Nonetheless, I got a few keepers. There's some great details in this first shot, the bird in the sky, the texture in the ice and the spray rainbow. Then I got down on the floor using the rocks and ice as a foreground. And lastly, I got this classic view with the river as a leading line by hanging my camera underneath the bridge. First off, I'm going to have to apologise for the quality of this next section, shot in complete darkness. But after the sun had set, we headed 30 minutes east for Skogafoss to park up for the night.
Okay, am I in focus? I am on ISO 320,000 f4 on this 16 lens, so I can fit this bit of the Aurora in the background, and I've been taking loads of photos. It is now 2:43 in the morning. I may as well stay up for sunrise now, I'm not gonna lie. But it has just been incredible. I'm at Skogafoss waterfall, and let me try and keep this phone on so you can see me. And I've had some time lapses going, the camera going, I've been getting in shot. It's just been incredible. I can't believe how awesome it's been. There was a medium geomagnetic storm, and I can see it just starting again. Some columns coming there, and it's starting to come back across just at the top. I don't know what to say. This part of the video is going to be super grainy. And there's the waterfall. I don't know if you could see that. I was facing the other way, but this place is just incredible. And I'm absolutely having the best time ever right now. All right, I'm gonna shut this crap video off, and I'll see you on the other side with some photos and some time lapses.
Before the Aurora came, I met a photo tour group and we shot the Milky Way as it came over the waterfall. That bright star on the right is Vega in the constellation Lyra. I went back to the van to warm up, but then the Aurora alerts went off and I was back out shooting. These first two are single shots, leading ice line up to the waterfall, and then a bit further back at the end of the night, a lovely couple I met, one of them using a torch to illuminate Skogafoss. Lastly, we have this masterpiece, if I say so myself. A composite of 3 photos, 10 seconds for me and the head torch, 5 seconds for the Aurora, and 2 minutes-ish for the ground. Just look at those Aurora columns though, stunning.
Morning, we're at Skogafoss waterfall, and this is an amazing place. There's a campsite right there where we just stayed the night, and it's very icy at the moment. It's lovely. There are a few compositions that I wanted to get here, the classic ones, leading lines of the river. I wanted to get into the river and have some of that water flow going up towards the waterfall, but it's very cold, and as soon as I come out, my boots are already full of ice, and Kaz wouldn't let me, would you, Kaz? So I wasn't. But there is some ice. So this riverbank leading line up towards the waterfall is a classic composition. And I've also had Kaz in the classic yellow jacket. I've sort of gone back and zoomed in to get like a curtain of water behind her. And I've also sort of zoomed out again to have her even smaller and get the wider vista in there. So today it is Easter Monday. It's about 8:30, and the buses have started turning up and it's going to get very busy here. Yesterday it was super busy, and yeah, we couldn't get a nice clean shot. Still, with some of these shots this morning from 7:30 to 8:30, I might have to Photoshop out a bunch of people because everyone just wants to go and walk straight up to the waterfall. So not a bad thing. There's some other viewpoints as well. So on the right hand side, as you're walking up to the waterfall, there's a path that leads up to go up to the river at the top, and there's another waterfall up there. But there's a little ledge I'd like to go out to. It looks like it's closed at the moment, probably because it's winter, probably because it's very dangerous and icy. So might give that a miss today. But I think I've got some really nice shots here, and I'm just going to go and show you them now.
With the Air 3 and its 70mm lens, I got the seabirds in the morning sun flying around the waterfall. And here is the classic curtain of water, shot far away at a long focal length for that lovely compression. And here's another CAS for scale in a wider front view of Skogafoss. Further up from the ledge I just spoke about is a viewing platform where I took this shot looking down on a bird in the icy surrounds of Skogafoss. I've still got plenty more videos and photos to share with you, including these locations which I think are even better than the ones I've shown today. Some absolute classics in there, so subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified when I get off my lazy arse and finish editing the next vlog. If you enjoyed the video, like it. If you disliked it, dislike it. In the meantime, why don't you check out my trip to the Faroe Islands shooting panoramas at sunset on calcite. Anyway, see you in the next one. Happy snapping.